What's up, everyone? My name is Joshua T. Berglan, and welcome to Spoken Word Live. It's so great to have you here today. We are live for the first time in several days that I can't count because I'm not feeling like doing math right now. Anyway, thank you all so much. I got to take a few days off. I went and had an amazing experience. I'm not going to say too much because I don't want to start blushing and all that stuff, but I had a very, very special trip and got to go to a really special concert with a very special human being. And I'll leave it at that for now. Anyway, but I do want to actually talk about something that was really interesting. Those of you who know me or have been following my journey, especially the last year, know that I've been dealing with this tremor. And this tremor, for the longest time, really kind of forced me into isolation because everywhere I went, like I'd hear voices, not like hearing voices as an imaginary voices, but anyone's voice that I would talk to, cell phone notifications, just anything, people's energy, all of it aggravated the tremors I have. So I really just lived in isolation to try to protect myself. And then 3 months ago, I had this opportunity to shoot a commercial. And, my agent, none of those people knew about the tremors I had. I thought I had told them, but I guess not. So I was able to get the part. I did the audition, passed the audition, did all that stuff. I got to fly. And that was the first time I'd really left isolation in months. And as challenging as it was, I got through it and it was a success. And so I decided at that trip that I was going to live my life and stop living in isolation, regardless of what was going on with me, regardless of the pain it caused and all of that stuff. So then the next month I had an opportunity to go to New York City and speak at the UN. And that seemed like an even bigger challenge because how in the world was I going to get through that? I mean, it was one thing to travel to Minnesota to shoot a commercial. That was a challenge. But New York City, all those frequencies, all those people, the United Nations. And then I go to New York City and I'm around all those people and I didn't really tremor. So weird. Can't figure it out. Can't figure it out. And so I had this formula in my head about what works, what doesn't work, what protects me, what doesn't. Go to New York City, completely unprotected, and I was fully mentally prepared to suffer. I didn't suffer. I was fine. Come back to Oklahoma, start tremoring. Okay? So kind of back in isolation I go with a rare appearance at the library because I made a decision to live my life. And then I started living my life, and then the tremors got really bad. And then I booked another trip. And this is a trip that was a very special trip. But it was more of a personal special trip. First date, that kind of thing. First meeting of someone I've been very, very special person I've been talking to that I call my girlfriend and was making jokes about potentially being a robot because I didn't know, even though I knew she wasn't. Was having such a fantastic, amazing relationship via the phone and FaceTime. It's like, okay, now it's time to see each other. And so having a once in a lifetime, which is to me was because it's not like I get to go to these amazing concert experiences all the time or anything like that. And to have the opportunity to see my favorite band, if you call Rufus Del Sol a band, having that opportunity, going to California, I'm like, okay, now I'm definitely going to suffer because when I go into church, for instance, I can't handle the music. The music absolutely crushes my spine. It feels like constant electricity, so much pain, so much suffering that I pretty much sit outside until the music's over so I can go listen to the message at least, right? And even that is a challenge for me. So how in the world am I going to go to a concert and be around 90,000 people. Well, I did, and it was amazing. And I want to say this too, though, because there was a couple of times, walking around Pasadena that I would start to have a tremor fit, and my amazing, amazing girlfriend did something for me that it may seem little and simple, but to me, it was very, very important and special to me, is that any time that I would start to tremor or have a tremor fit, she would grab me in a gentle, loving way, grab me, and then whisper something to me. And it would go away. Going to the concert, 90,000 people, walking there to the concert, no problem. Go to the concert, no problem. I could feel the frequencies in my body. I could feel the speakers, that energy going into my body. I could feel all of it, but it felt like I was being charged up. Didn't tremor at all during the entire concert, the opening act and Rufus. Didn't tremor until the walk home or back to the hotel. So why am I sharing all this? I'm sharing it because, one, I share and document my journey. That's what I do. I talk about it. I've been talking about my journey since I really first got on social media, because it's been a pretty wild journey. And this tremor thing has become its own little storyline, because every time I think I have it figured out, every time I think that I've healed, I have it. And it's been really, really interesting, to say the least. In fact, if anything, I would say that for about 5 or 6 days, I thought, oh, they're gone. I'm healed. It's demoralizing to start to believe that I'm healing and then have them flare back up. Because, as soon as I got back to Oklahoma, they'd flared up. It's not Oklahoma, though. I don't know, but I don't know what it is. So anyway, I guess the reason I'm sharing this is because there's other people that are invested in this journey, because I get the comments, I get the DMs. I've had multiple people reach out and go, oh my gosh, you're healing. And I'm like, yeah, I am. And then I get thrown a curveball. But isn't that life? Isn't that life? This is spoken word, and I'm about to draw the word. And by the way, we're about to replenish these words. We're about to do the drawing now. But look, I guess why I'm sharing all this to say is that, I don't understand, for much credit as I get for overcoming and not giving up and all this stuff, I have very few answers about anything. One of the reasons why I walked away from, I stopped broadcasting, or at least when I was doing a solo broadcast before, and, really more in evangelist mode, I was all fired up because I thought what I was teaching was true, and a lot of, I'm not going to say what I was teaching was a lie. I'm just going to say that there were some things that I was teaching because of what I was being taught that I no longer believe, because I found the truth and went through a long process of, and still going through a long process of unlearning. And so when I felt prompted and felt led and also encouraged to come back and just start speaking from the heart again, and really kind of going back into evangelist mode, it wasn't to preach at people, but it was, to share messages from the heart and really keep it simple, because for the longest time, have been trying to educate and prepare people for the future. And the thing is that regardless of what I may know about future plans of the world leaders and Agenda 2030 and Agenda 21 and transhumanism and all of these other things, the technocratic government we're in, and as much as those things I want to talk about, the fact is this: there's still no guarantee it's going to happen. There's no guarantee. There's no promise of tomorrow. There's no promise of the next hour. And like, while I have been optimistic that I'm going to heal, and I still believe I'm going to heal. And while I can, start going into fantasy land about my future plans and the future world that I'm prepared for and all of those other things, the fact is this, that I can't control what will happen in 5 minutes from now outside of my own actions. I can't control the energy that's inside of me. I mean, as much as I sometimes think I can, there's times that I can't. And it throws me a curveball every single day. But that's life. And that's what we all deal with. We all deal with curveballs. We all deal with disappointments and heartache and disappointment and letdowns and heartbreak and betrayal and lies and deception and cheating and narcissism. We all deal with it. But the truth is that life, regardless of what is happening for us if we choose to believe that. If we choose to believe that there's no point to our suffering, if we choose to believe that our hardship, is just there to punish us and we're just no good sinners and all of these other things, if we choose to walk through life believing that and telling ourselves that, then, well, we're going to walk around beaten down, depressed, sad, hopeless, without the energy that purpose provides and fuels us with. So I guess what I'm trying to get at is, like, I'm not trying to say any of this to pat me on the back. I guess I was just speaking from the heart about how life is unpredictable and everything can feel smooth and amazing and we're starting to coast, and then all of a sudden life throws us a curveball. But if we see the curveballs as opportunities, as lessons to learn, and if we view failure as not final and just really see it as more of a refinement, I believe that we can use anything that comes our way to help elevate us. I mean, in the same way an eagle uses a storm to soar, right? What are eagles, like, rise above the storm? I don't know the full analogy of the eagle, but I'm just thinking of Miles Monroe, Dr. Miles Monroe, his message on eagles. And of course, I know that there's other people that have done it, given sermons about eagles also, but it's something. There's something to that. Like, that's where eagles rest, right? They rise above the storm, and that they can rest above that storm. Isn't that how it works? They can use all that negative pressure to rise above. I probably should have had that better planned out before I started talking about it, but that's what came through. What storm in your life can you rise above? For me, it's the tremors. Can rise above. As demoralizing as it can be, and as much as I hate being on camera with my head shaking, especially having a history of being on camera with my head not shaking, I mean, to be honest with you, just being fully transparent, a couple of the different times that I had little mini tremor fits, and nothing severe, but when they started to creep up while I was away on my trip, I remember how demoralized I felt. And it's like, here I am with this amazing woman that I admire and respect so much, and I'm so proud to have her as my girlfriend. And I mean, and she's so much more. Like, I almost feel like calling her girlfriend feels disrespectful at this point, because she's so much more than that to me. We've developed quite the bond. But I was embarrassed, because I've been, one of the big struggles that I've had to get through in believing that I would find the right partner for me, finding love, was I didn't believe that I would ever be loved with the condition I had. It was one thing getting over the mental health challenges, but then when I got through that, then came this. And I remember how demoralizing I felt, and yet at the same time, as quickly as I started to feel that way, that's when she would grab me and whisper something in my ear, and then it would just go away. And I've never, I can't think of more times in my life that I felt more loved, but also seen, and that felt good. But I will tell you that it is still a mental battle for me to get through this, because it's embarrassing, because I look like I'm tweaking half the time. And it's an energy zap to have my head move like this, and the pain and all that other stuff, right? And so I can focus on all of that. But then I can also look at all of the blessings that it's brought me. And it's opened up doors for me that would not have opened otherwise. But it's also allowed me to feel loved in ways that I've never felt loved before, because I think we, in relationships, we hear, she or he loved me at my worst. And I don't know if that's just like an exaggerated statement that people make, but that's what comes to mind when I think of, my physical health. And to feel loved, or even cared for, when I feel that I'm at my worst and not my best, is a pretty remarkable feeling. And I'm grateful for that. And you know what? I know that's a weird stretch for finding gratitude, but for me, it's a big thing. Because it was one thing being loved when I was a junkie, or somebody tried to love me when I was a junkie. That was one thing. But like, I wasn't trying to be my best. I wasn't striving for the purpose I was created for. When those times I was loved at my worst. I sincerely, for 10 years now, have been trying to be the best man that I can be, to become what I was created to be. I've worked hard for that. I've worked hard to rehabilitate my life. And anyone who's ever, gone through addiction or been a junkie or, battled mental health issues, but they decided that they were going to do everything in their power to heal, to not let the disability, to not let the mental illness, to not let the past affect their future. I've tried my best to live that way. And so, even though I know I'm not perfect and I'm not at my best, I work to be that. And so to be loved in that imperfection feels really good. That's the point of that. All right, let's draw the word, everyone. Hope you guys are doing well. Thank you for being here. And by the way, I can't see the chat, so I'll reply after. I don't know who. Well, actually, I can see someone, and it doesn't say who you are, but whoever said "love you, bro," thank you. I love you too. Not to give a disingenuous "I love you," but thank you for being here. Woo! The word for the day is addiction. I love talking about this so much. Look, it's everyone. Everyone's addicted to something, right? But I want to talk about the people that have an addiction that's truly affecting your life in a negative way. Sex addiction, drug addiction, lying addiction, any type of chemical dependency addiction. I'm not an expert in sobriety at all. And I want to preface anything I'm about to say by that. What I chose to do for me to get through addiction may not work for anyone else. But you see, I'm not somebody that can go around telling myself I can't do something. Can't. Like, to tell myself that I can't do anything, I'm out of spite, even to myself. I'm going to go, well, screw you. I'll show you. And that's me even taunting myself. Telling myself I can't do cocaine or can't do meth or can't do this or can't do that. It's never going to work. It never did work. All it did, in looking back at it, is every time it just created this agony and misery and loathing and craving that was unquenchable. I couldn't convince myself that I didn't love drugs. It's like a fake affirmation. I am a multi-billionaire. I am 7 feet tall and I am ripped. No, I'm not. I'm 6'2" and I'm not growing. I'm getting more ripped. But either way, like, the affirmations where we lie to ourselves, and I know fake it till you make it is a thing, but I also believe like lying to ourselves is a really bad habit, kind of like pretending that, never mind, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go there. Today is not the day. I'm not going to start any fights with anyone. Calm down. Okay. So, like, the thought of saying, like, trying to convince myself that drugs are bad, okay, and I don't enjoy them and I didn't like them. Like, I mean, every time I would tell myself that, I'm like, the back of my brain, I'm like, yeah, you do. Of course you do. Why are you even trying to pretend that you don't? I couldn't pray away my drug addiction or drug cravings. Didn't. The only thing that helped me get sober and walk away from a life of cocaine and meth, and like, alcohol was never, even though I had alcohol related incidents, I would just drink to get me to the cocaine because it just made it more okay in my brain, even though the whole time that's all I ever wanted to do was just get me straight to the drugs. The alcohol in the end is going to affect the drugs, and I just really want the drugs. But since I need to go out and pretend that I'm a normal person hanging out with my friends, I'm going to go out and drink with them. And then when they're all wasted, I'm going to start doing the cocaine, and then I'm going to do the after hours party. Then I'm going to, I had my double life had a double life because I really liked the drugs. And it became a whole world because it just made everything better. When I was happy, made it better. When I was sad, made it better. When I was depressed, made it better. How in the world was I going to convince myself that I didn't like cocaine anymore? Well, I don't like what happens afterwards. Well, maybe just don't do as much next time. Maybe you don't need to stay up for 4 days. Maybe just stay up for 3 days. Maybe instead of, all the after parties, maybe just go to one. Yeah, that didn't work. That didn't work. Moderation? Sheesh. No. The only thing that was ever going to make me not want to do cocaine was finding something that I love more. Finding something that my heart desired more than the euphoria of, I'm not going to try to trigger anyone. Sorry. I almost went down this painting a beautiful picture of cocaine. I'm not going to do that because now there's fentanyl in it. And nobody needs to risk that. Whew. Anyway, I had to find something that I love more. And what's funny is, it was with me the whole time. It was with me the whole time. What I love to do. Love to perform. Love to speak. Love to create. It was, I think back at some of the earliest memories of me as a kid before I was molested. Before everything in my world changed, I remember the kind of kid that I was. going back to that is what saved my life. Going back to being a kid. Going back to my hopes and dreams and what I was imagining. In fact, looking back at it, I think about how God was showing me the signs the whole time. Every time I was molested, every time I was abused, every time I went to jail, every time something overdose, every time something traumatic in my life happened, I would be given this vision. Didn't know what it meant for so long. It took 6 times being in jail, in isolation, in the psych ward for days, and not being able to run for myself, for me to finally realize and wake up to go, those dreams and visions are there to show you what's possible for your life, not to mock you. And all those dreams and visions could easily be traced back to my childhood because it was there for me. And I can't say it's like that for everyone. Can't say that what we are created to do is being shown to us as children, but it seems like the more people I meet who are pursuing their purpose can go back to their childhood and go back to the time that they were imagining the life that they would live. It's amazing to me how it took having everything that I thought was supposed to be real in reality, it took all of that crumbling for me to realize I had no other option than to go all in on what I was being shown in my mind, in my heart. It took losing everything. Yet at the same time, because I'm that stubborn, like I'm the one that needed to hit rock bottom more than once. And of course, I think all of us need to hit rock bottom more than once. but for me, I'm so stubborn. It seemed like I needed to have more of it, like more of a beat down to get it, to go, oh, okay. All right, well, there's no other option. So now I have no choice but to go all in on me. Here's the thing. It didn't need to be that difficult. If I would have answered the call sooner, I could have avoided more failed relationship. Because even thinking about this, all of my bad relationship choices, all of the bad choices I've made in my life were just an act of defiance of the purpose I was created for. Now, did I realize that at the time? No. But looking back at it, I could have made this whole journey so much easier on myself. I could have hurt way less people. I could have done less damage to my body. There's no telling. And I don't live in a world of woulda, shoulda, coulda. I don't live with regrets. But looking back at it, it's easy to see I could have made life much easier for me. Which reminds me of a story. Reminds me of someone was talking about eating acid, and it reminded me of something. This is last week. I saw this on Facebook. Gosh, I wish I could remember who made the comment now. But anyway, I was in college. I got hurt playing football and became a college cheerleader. And I don't know how this happened, really came about, but when I was in cheerleading, we had this opportunity that, we were working different events, and I had the opportunity to be the announcer of this cheerleading competition. And I'd never done any type of announcing, never really been on a microphone at all. And I was given an opportunity to do the announcing. And I did a really good job. So much so that I was then introduced to like talent agents and things like that. And I'll never forget the day I was told that, like, hey, we're, this agent's going to call you, and like, they really believed in me as a talent. I was 20 years old at the time. I'll never forget the day I decided to eat gel tabs, which is acid, and go with my friends and go ride go-karts in Fort Lauderdale, which sounds like an amazing time, because riding go-karts on acid is a lot of fun. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you it's not fun, because it was a freaking blast. Watching people's faces melt in line was fun too. But that's not the story. The real story out of all of this magical, fun adventure that was multicolored, and even though I'm colorblind, I could see all the colors and all that stuff. The real story is, on the way there, you got a phone call. I didn't know when the agent was supposed to call, but they just so happened to call 45 minutes into me eating gel tabs. In my mind, and as I'm talking to this agent, I think I'm not making sense. So I decide to tell the agent, I've been drinking heavily since 9 o'clock this morning. Can I call you tomorrow? Needless to say, I never talked to that agent again. You'd think that would have been enough to wake me up. But there was multiple other opportunities for me along the way. So that was the first one, right? So I was 20 years old. Then fast forward, and I don't get another shot at anything entertainment-wise until much, much later. And that's when I lived in LA. And remember, this is all I ever wanted to do. Performing is in my family's blood. My dad, his band had top 10 hits and toured. He gave up a world tour. In fact, why I'm so determined to finish the race and to not give up on my dreams is because my dad did. And I remember more. I could think about all the things. I mean, there's lots of memories with my father. Not all of them are pleasant. But the one that sticks out to me the most of all of his dreams, or all the things that he ever shared with me, and it's for the record, every story he told me of every rock band in the backseat of his car, driving all over the place, he would tell stories of these bands that he toured with as they came on the radio. So, like, I got into all the things that I'm into because of what was taking place in my childhood. But the thing that'll never get out of my mind is hearing my dad say over and over and over again how he gave up on his dream to make his dad happy. He gave up on a world tour to go get his degree because his dad convinced him that music was fleeting. He needs to have that degree so he can, have everything in line and go get married and have kids and do all those things, set him up for the future. That's what his dad advised him. Was that the right advice? Well, I'm alive because of that advice. But you know what? All I remember is him talking about giving up on his dream. And I look at my father's life, and he was always chasing that dragon. He was always chasing, trying to perform. And mind you, was performing at a nursing home or when his band got back together or at church. Like, that's all he wanted to do was perform. He was a showman. Yes, he was a businessman, but he was a showman, and he was good. But he gave up on his dream. And I believe that tormented his soul his whole life. I don't believe he was ever really happy unless he was wasted or in excess or, swinging or doing the things that he did that never really brought him any peace. He never had peace. He never had peace because he didn't pursue his purpose. He gave up on what he was created to do. The only thing that keeps me on this relatively straight path, and I say relatively because I'm not a choir boy by any means. But I'm able each and every day to choose the path that God created me to be on, or the path to my purpose. I'm able to choose that every day because I know that if I don't choose it, what my alternatives are. What keeps me breathing, what keeps me motivated, what keeps me inspired is this purpose that I know that I'm created for. And part of that purpose is to love. And that's all of our purpose, is to love. But part of loving is loving what we do. Not just loving each other and taking action and loving ourselves, but it's also doing things we love, because we cannot live in love doing what we hate. If we hate our life, if we hate our actions, if we hate our job, if we hate our family, we hate our home environment, we hate our marriage, we hate our relationship, we hate all this stuff, we are not living in love. Therefore, we are not living in purpose. So you can't live in love in some areas and neglect the others, because that's not love. It's like telling a half truth. It's like telling 90% of the truth. It's still not the truth. You live in love or you don't. And part of living in love is doing what we love. And that is the only thing that has helped me get through the hardships that I currently live with, is doing what I love. I was miserable when I stopped broadcasting. I was miserable when I stopped. Every time I would build momentum, build an audience, it'd stop. Either before I was getting kicked off the internet, but then it was like, oh, now I need to preserve my health. Yeah, I know I need to be a good steward of my body and take care of my mind, body, and spirit. Absolutely. But you know what? Part of doing that is doing what I love. And it's a balancing act, because sometimes I make things way more difficult on myself than I should. So part of loving yourself also is checking in with yourself to go, is this right for me today? And that's a balancing act too. Because there's times that I'm going, okay, is going to a concert the right idea? Yes, because it's a bucket list with a very special human being. So that's worth it. And then I didn't suffer, right? Broadcasting. I love getting to do this. I don't care if one person's listening or 8 million. I love getting to do this. This is the best therapy in the world for me, because I'm getting to talk. Like, I'm getting to share my heart, and we all should have that ability to share our heart. I mean, it's been one of the more healing things for me in the world, getting to do this. Like, for me, media was a vehicle for healing, not just opportunity, not just endless revenue streams. It was to heal. What is it that you love? What is it that you dreamed about doing when you were young that maybe you walked away from? What is it in your life right now that you hate? What are you doing to manage that hatred of the current situation that you have? Is it the job? What are you doing to manage your hatred of your job? What are you doing to manage your hatred of your relationship? Is it cheating? Is it drinking? Is it smoking crack? Meth? What is it? It's something. Because none of us want to live a life that we hate. And so that hatred leads to something. So what can you replace what you hate? What can you replace that thing that you hate, with love? Like, what do you love that you don't have in your life now that you can place in your life? For me, it was the absence of the purpose that I was created for. In other words, I wasn't living that. When anyone would ask me what I wanted to do, and mind you, I was in healthcare. I love fighting on behalf of people with complex disabilities. I did it for 18 years. Love it. Love what I got to do. But when anyone asked me, if you could do anything in the world, what would it be? I knew exactly what the answer was, which made it even more maddening that I wasn't doing it. Thank God I am now. Because without doing what I love, I would not have love in my life. Without doing what I love, I would not be able to love others. I would not be able to do something that I love more than the drugs and other things that I loved to distract me from what I hated. Addiction is, sometimes we joke around about our addictions, and some of them may seem harmless and some of them not, and I'm not here to judge. But if your addiction is causing you to live a life that you hate, maybe it's time to start asking yourself what you can replace that with. Because every single one of you, regardless of your situation, in fact, the very thing that has you swimming and bathing in your addiction now, that very thing could be part of the fuel for your purpose. Like if you're bathing in your addiction, you're engaged in your addiction, like what is it that's causing that? Because that thing, once you reframe it, could be the very fuel that ignites your purposeful living life that you love. Misery and suffering and agony and betrayal and hurt and shame, it all gets to have a purpose. It all gets to. But that's up to you. Thank you all for watching. Have an amazing day. My name is Joshua T. Berglan. Wherever you're watching from, thank you so much. If you feel so led, share this. And if I can ever be of service, don't hesitate to reach out. My website below, joshuatberglan.com. Thank you again for watching.